Hello everyone, Mr. McTidge here. So the video I had planned for this week was taking a long time to put together, so I thought this week I would do something a little different and just nerd out about one of my favourite albums, that being Post by Bjork. My love for Bjork's music knows no end, and in Post what's so striking and creative is her use of innovative electronic sounds as backings to her pieces. Also, her voice is just unique and gorgeous. If you're the kind of person who likes quirky pop music, then this album might just be for you. The album starts off with Army of Me, which has this angry, plodding bass synth that feels as though Bjork is striding up to give you a slap as she sings, and if you complain once more, you'll meet an Army of Me. The industrial sounds really work to great effect here, and it's just a superb album opener. Up next is not only my favourite song from this album, but a song that might just be my favourite Bjork song and probably my top 50 songs of all time as well, that being Hyper Ballad. The fluttering drums and pastoral synths present this isolated soundscape for Bjork to muse how safe she feels in her relationship. The lyrics are just ethereal as Bjork sings, "I imagine what my body would sound like slamming against those rocks, and when it lands will my eyes be closed or open? I go through a list before you wake up so I can feel happy and feel safe again with you." It's just such a brilliantly complex, sentimental song, I just love it. The Modern Things is probably the weakest track on the album. It's not a bad song, but not as musically innovative or lyrically interesting as the rest of the songs on the album. After that is Bjork's cover of It's Oh So Quiet, and I just love how she puts every ounce of her personality onto this track, shouting during the louder sections and whispering in the most comically exaggerated rubato in the slower ones. Track number 5, Enjoy, is such a fantastic track. Bjork's use of dissonance in the bass line is on point, and the off-kilter brass stabs make this song one of the best pop song deconstructions I've ever heard. The lyrics similarly aren't about conventional experiencing, they're about not wanting to commit to something but enjoying it from afar, resulting in one of the most subversive moments in Bjork's discography. You've Been Flirting Again is a lovely orchestral interlude that looks at an argument from both sides. There's not an awful lot to say here other than it bridges the two halves of the album in luscious style. Isabel is another track that I just love finding deeper meaning in. Starting off musically, there are these lovely bouncy drums and keys in the verses that get absolutely swept up in a glorious orchestral arrangement in the chorus. It's just such a satisfying moment when that sweep happens, and it makes me smile every time. The lyrics are where it gets a bit more interesting. On the one hand, there seems to be a mantra of female independence as she sings about women's lust, and when she does it, she means to. But then there's this subtle critique of this feminist attitude taking to its fullest conclusion embedded within the song, which you can hear as she sings in kind of a mock Neanderthal dialect, "My name Isabel, married to myself." Perhaps it's not directly a critique on the ideology, but it definitely highlights the shallowness of the concept of pure independence. To be a completely independent person, i.e. absolutely relying on no one else, would kind of mean living like a caveman and hunting game for food, but yeah, very interesting track. Up next is Possibly Maybe. Did I mention yet that Bjork writes the best songs about sex? This song is gorgeously slow and luxuriant and explores a more complicated, unsure response to sex, but I think it's best to just listen to this one for yourself. I wouldn't want to spoil anything. I Miss You is easily the most infectious song on the album, and probably the one I've replayed the most times. The polyrhythms always manage to put a spring in my step, and the brass arrangements are just great too. Just a great pop song. Cover Me is probably the oddest song on the album, with strange sounding plucks, synths and noises, as Bjork claims she's going to prove the impossible really exists, which leads on naturally into the album closer Headphones, where Bjork's penchant for the innovative comes to life again. Resting on a bed of freeform keys, Bjork layers in vocal snippets among lyrics like "My headphones, they saved my life." This song perhaps does go on for a little too long for the impatient, but it just helps if you allow yourself to soak in it as though you're indulging in a nice long bubble bath. So there you have it, my opinion on one of the most interesting and innovative pop albums of all time. I would thoroughly recommend this album to basically anyone who likes at least slightly quirky music. So thank you all for listening. I should have a more substantial video out next time, but until then, I will see you then. Goodbye.